When Randy contacted me, he was the CEO of his organization, Chief Operating Officer, and he was just about to be promoted to become the CEO. The reason was that the previous CEO decided relatively unexpectedly to retire from his role because he felt responsible for a recent botched product launch and also felt he may not be the right person to achieve the turnaround that was necessary. The botched product launch led the company into quite serious cash flow issues, and therefore he considered that maybe Randy might be the better person to achieve this turnaround. So Randy contacted me to ask, hey Charlie, I think I am having the capabilities, I have the knowledge, I have the experience to lead such a turnaround, but I also have some concerns. Will I have the emotional stability to do that? Will I be able to take the risks that might be needed to take? Because I'm a rather risk-averse person. Will I be able to make the really tough calls soon enough? Because I also care a lot about how other people feel. And so he was wondering if coaching might be useful for him to help him through this particularly difficult turnaround situation. Now, executive coaching can be applied in many different circumstances for many different purposes. And of course, this kind of situation where someone may need to shift the way they look at things, shift their perspectives, coaching seems to be an ideal tool to help him achieve that. So one of the first things I asked him to do is to take an assessment. And the good news was that he had actually some significant strengths that he could potentially leverage. One of them being that he's a really good communicator. He's very frank in the way he expresses things. He's at the same time very tactful. He's also someone who really loves to take responsibility and take the hit if something goes wrong. And at the same time, he's also very willing to involve others in decision making without necessarily having endless discussions. So these would be some very useful capabilities he already had and tendencies that we could leverage. On the flip side, unfortunately, his expectation that he might be too soft, that he might be too risk averse, were also confirmed through the assessment. And however, I helped him see that to some degree he can leverage the strengths to overcome some of his weaknesses, but also that some of those weaknesses could be actually worked on and changed potentially. He was quite concerned that if he takes a tough decision, that people would get upset, that the relationship might be not so good anymore. But you know, if you say tough things in a tactful and frank way, the risk that people are actually really upset is quite small. Yes, for sure, they will not be happy to get a bad message. But if it's delivered in a tactful, respectful way, and if he helps them understand why this needs to be done, then it's much more acceptable, of course. Also, when we looked at his risk pattern, he was actually someone who very carefully would check what could go wrong before making any decision. And so having the awareness that he's actually very thorough in checking pitfalls and things like that would actually allow him to take certain risks because he would quite clearly know what could actually go wrong and what to do about it, could think of contingencies in such situations. So that was another strength he could leverage to overcome his risk averseness. But another thing came out through the assessment is that he was a rather self-critical person. And if we are highly self-critical, we tend to put ourselves under a lot of pressure, which make it even harder to deal with a very turbulent situation he was in and to kind of keep the cool. The good news was that the way we can improve our self-esteem and manage our emotions in a better way happens kind of in the same way. It's not about what happens that makes us feel the way we feel about ourselves or about our emotions. It's how we think about it. And the good news is we can actually change the way we think about things. Now, I know that's a bit easier said than done because we have habits of thinking that are equally difficult to overcome like any other habit that we maybe do. But the good news is we can actually achieve that. We can use some tools to improve the way we think about things, and that changes how we feel about it, that changes how we feel about ourselves, our self-esteem, and that makes us actually much more stable and strong when we face turbulent situations. So my question to you today is, how do you keep your cool when there's a turbulent situation? I'm really looking forward to your comments. Thank you.